It began not with a crown or a throne, but with a sprawling 22-acre estate nestled in the sun-drenched hills of Beverly Hills. This was no royal castlet, was the home of Tyler Perry, a self-made billionaire whose media empire was built from grit, talent, and unrelenting ambition. Meghan Markle had never met Perry in person, yet when she and Prince Harry severed ties with the British monarchy in 2020, walking away from titles, security, and the weight of centuries-old tradition, it was Perry who opened his door. This wasn't just a house, it was a sanctuary. Perry didn't merely offer a place to stay. He provided a fortress complete with round-the-clock security, impenetrable privacy, and something far more valuable: unwavering belief in their cause. In a town like Hollywood, where favors are currency and loyalty is a gamble, Perry's gesture was extraordinary. He didn't just give them shelter, he gave them a chance to rebuild, to breathe, to reimagine their future. His support sent a message louder than any press release: "I've got your back." But Perry wasn't alone. Enter Oprah Winfrey, the undisputed queen of influence, whose name carries more weight than most Hollywood studios combined. In March 2021, she sat down with Meghan and Harry for an interview that wasn't just television, it was a seismic shift in the cultural landscape. Watched by over 17 million people in the US, alone and dissected by billions worldwide, the conversation reframed Meghan from a divisive royal to a sympathetic figure. A woman wronged by an unyielding institution, a mother fighting for her family, a voice for change. Oprah didn't just hand Meghan a microphone, she handed her a megaphone, amplifying her narrative to a global audience and cementing her as a cultural force. Together, Perry and Oprah were more than allies. They were architects of Meghan's reinvention. Perry offered protection. Oprah offered power. Their support wasn't just a lifeline, it was a launch pad, a second act wrapped in the glitz and grit of Hollywood. But as the years have unfolded, something has shifted. The once vibrant spotlight that followed Meghan's every move has dimmed, replaced by a silence that speaks louder than any headline. The question now isn't what Meghan has done, but what she hasn't tanned, what that silence means in a town where relevance is everything. Hollywood thrives on optics. Every gesture, every mention, every carefully curated Instagram post is a transaction in the currency of influence. When Perry opened his home to Meghan and Harry, it wasn't just a favor, it was a public endorsement. Sources close to Perry suggest his support went far beyond a loaner mansion. There were private jets, staffed security teams, and logistical lifelines that ensured the couple could land on their feet. In return, Hollywood's unwritten rule demanded gratitude, a shout-out, a thank you, a nod in a podcast or a docuseries. But from Meghan and Harry, nothing. No public acknowledgement, no social media tag, no whispered appreciation in the right circles. In a world where loyalty is both a shield and a sword, this omission wasn't just oversight, it was a misstep. Perry, a man who built his empire on relationships and respect, didn't need a billboard-sized thank you. But in Hollywood, silence isn't neutral, it's a statement. And when Perry took the stage at the BET Awards to accept his Lifetime Achievement Award, he didn't need to name names to make his point. "You can't build a palace on unpaid bills," he said, his words slicing through the room like a well-aimed arrow. The audience froze. Insiders knew exactly what he meant. Oprah, too, has gone quiet. Her production company, Harpo, hasn't uttered Meghan's name in over a year, a deafening silence from a woman whose empire is built on precision and intention. Oprah doesn't just drift away from projects or people, she steps away with purpose. Her absence isn't a coincidence, it's a signal. In Hollywood, where alliances are as fragile as they are powerful, the retreat of two titans like Perry and Oprah isn't just a setback for Meghan, it's a warning. At the heart of Meghan and Harry's post-royal vision was Archewell, their nonprofit foundation launched with promises of global impact and modern philanthropy. It was meant to be their legacy, a sleek, purposeful organization blending royal gravitas with Hollywood polish. But behind the glossy website and high-profile announcements, Archewell has struggled to find its footing. Insiders describe a chaotic operation marked by high staff turnover, vague initiatives, and a lack of tangible results. "It's a brand vehicle dressed up as a charity," one former consultant said, echoing a growing sentiment in Hollywood's inner circles. The numbers tell a troubling story. Financial reports reveal bloated consulting fees and projects that fizzle out before they gain traction. Donors, once eager to align with the couple's star power, are now hesitant. Partners are pulling back, wary of associating with a name that no longer sparks excitement. For a couple who built their brand on transparency and impact, the optics are disastrous. Archewell was supposed to be their flagship, but it's starting to look like a ship adrift, beautifully designed but rudderless. The disconnect is stark. Meghan and Harry position themselves as champions of change, yet their foundation's lack of clarity undermines their message. A podcast teaser here, a lifestyle brand announcement there, none of it sticks. The public, once captivated by their story, is growing weary. In an industry where momentum is everything, fatigue is a death sentence. And as Archewell falters, so does the couple's credibility. Meghan's image has always been meticulously curated. Every photo, every interview, every public appearance is scripted to perfection. But that obsession with control is now a double-edged sword. Insiders report that Meghan's need to approve every detail from lighting angles to press release wordingas alienated the very teams hired to elevate her brand. A high-profile publicist recently walked away from a project, citing image fatigue and an environment where creativity was stifled by micromanagement. It's not just that it's hard to work with her, the publicist said, it's that it's impossible to work for her. This hyper-control extends to her narrative. Meghan's story has always been one of reinvention, from actress to duchess to global advocate. But as the reinventions pile up, they're starting to blur. Is she an activist, a media mogul, a lifestyle guru? The public doesn't know, and neither, it seems, does Meghan. Her brand, once sharp and compelling, now feels like a series of false starts, a podcast that never fully launches, a lifestyle brand with no clear identity, a charity that promises more than it delivers. In Hollywood, where clarity is king, this ambiguity is deadly. She doesn't sell anymore. One studio executive said bluntly, "It's not that people hate her, they're just tired. Tired of the drama, the victimhood, the endless pivots." In an industry driven by what's next, Meghan's inability to define her next is costing her dearly. Meghan's 2018 royal wedding was a masterclass in branding. The guest list read like a who's who of global influence. Oprah, the Clooneys, Serena Williams. It wasn't a family affair. It was a power summit, a signal that Meghan was playing a bigger game. At the time, it worked. The world saw a modern, glamorous couple rewriting the royal script. But hindsight reveals a different truth. Those weren't lifelong friends in the pews. They were strategic allies, and many of them are now conspicuously absent. In Hollywood, relationships are currency, and Meghan's track record suggests she spends them quickly. The same power players who once championed her, Perry, Oprah, the A-list crowd, have faded into the background. No one's calling it a feud, but the silence is telling. When you burn bridges in Hollywood, it's not with flames, it's with absence. Calls go unreturned. Invitations stop coming. The spotlight moves on. The British press, once obsessed with Meghan's every move, has also shifted. Coverage still exists, but it's less fevered, more fatigued. The drama that once fueled headlines now feels repetitive. The public, both in the UK and the US, is moving on. And in PR, losing control of the narrative is a cardinal sin. Meghan's team is on the defensive, reacting to leaks and headlines rather than shaping them. In a game where timing is everything, she's perpetually one step behind. In Hollywood, relevance is a delicate dance. One moment, you're the golden ticket, everyone wants a piece of your story. The next, you're radioactive, and no one wants to touch you. Meghan, once the darling of disruptors, is now whispered about as a liability. Not because of scandal or controversy, but because of something far worse: predictability. Her story, once fresh and inspiring, now feels like a rerun. The public isn't angry, they're bored. Executives who once saw potential in her name now pass on projects before they reach the pitch stage. She doesn't move the needle, one source said. Studios aren't looking for drama, They're looking for profit. And Meghan, with her high-maintenance reputation and lack of recent wins, isn't delivering. The Met Gala invitations have dried up. Vogue UK covers are a distant memory. Even her once loyal fan base is asking, what's next? And not in a good way. The irony is stark. Meghan and Harry's brand was built on breaking free, on defying tradition to create something new. But freedom comes with a price, and in Hollywood, that price is relevance. Without a clear vision, a consistent win, or the loyalty of the right people, their star is fading. Perry and Oprah, the titans who once propped them up, have stepped back. Their silence isn't just a withdrawal, it's a verdict. Meghan Markle's story was supposed to be a fairy tale. The actress who became a duchess, the duchess who became a rebel, the rebel who became a global icon. But fairy tales don't last in Hollywood, where the only thing that endures is results. Meghan isn't cancelled, she's drifting. Slowly, quietly, and perhaps most dangerously, invisibly. The question now isn't what Meghan has done, but what she'll do next. Can she reclaim the narrative, redefine her brand, and rebuild the bridges she's burned? Or will she remain a cautionary tale, a reminder that in Hollywood, loyalty has a half-life, and silence is louder than betrayal? The spotlight has moved on, and it's not coming back on its own. For Meghan Markle, the next chapter isn't just a choice, it's a necessity.